Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever Ghost Company live stream. Okay, I'm not actually going to talk like that, at least not most of the time. Boba Fatty here, and I got a hold of a piece of software called OBS, Open Broadcasters Software, that has given me an amazing new respect for what all these live streamers are actually doing behind the scenes on the fly while they're talking to you on their live streams. It's pretty amazing. So this is really just a test. There's a few things that you can only test while you're actually live streaming. So I wanted to try to accomplish that, and if possible at the same time talk about a couple things that could be helpful, mainly involving territory wars, a couple teeny little things among all the many things that would make it go better and find a little more success. So checking a couple of things. Think it's looking okay, so I can try to move forward. Let's see here. Unrest in the galaxy! The heroic Ghost Company has suffered its first defeat in the territory wars. Okay, sorry guys. One thing we could talk about real quick is power level restrictions and what the reason that we do it, and a little bit about how we figure it out. So let's take a quick look at our we'll go to .gg, and let's see here. If you go to your .gg page and then you hit the link for our guild, and you go to squad templates, most people are probably aware, but just in case you hadn't checked it out, there's these squad templates you can set up. And I went through and set up a bunch specifically for territory wars, and it's mainly just to check and see what we have. Basically, you click on any one, and some of them you can only put into because there's going to be so many different variations, obviously, but just so we could check and count easily how many Zated Barrises and GK combos do we have. So let's see here. To talk about the power level restrictions, let's go maybe in the first order. Might be an easy one to highlight. You highlight the gear, but if you look at the power numbers, we have several that are pretty good, and it starts to go down into the mid 60s, and around where you get to about 25, you're into the 65, 66 type range basically. So there could be several beyond 25 that are around 65, 64, whatever. So what we try to do is set the restriction somewhere higher up at first, maybe 70,000, to just make sure that all these ones get in there. You know, if we set the level what we know our bottom end is, then there could be more bottom end that ends up getting in there before some of these guys with the higher powered versions have a chance to actually do so. So that's where they come from. It's kind of like territory battles. If you're able to hold off and just try to look back at, at reasonable intervals to check, see if the restrictions have changed, and if you meet those restrictions, it would be supremely helpful for sure. So it's pretty simple looking at that, at least. One other thing I wanted to talk about real quick is this possibility here. This is nothing new. Everybody probably has heard of it. Nutacolombie. There's people using a full squad that has Leia, and it's a little more involved, I think R2. But this can be used possibly as a territory war offensive squad for anybody that doesn't have a Talzin or just, a full Night Sister squad that they really feel like they have together and they can actually do anything with. This is a little trio that would be pretty easy for anyone to get rolling, and it's kind of hard to really look through this and get a grasp of exactly who has what where, but test another thing in this software where I have a video ready, which is Nutacolombie. I went through a galactic war using any other squad that doesn't include these, so that they would be, coming in with 0 turn meter, and got, just looked for a squad. Basically, you're going to need to look for a squad that doesn't have any AoE is the biggest thing. So Phoenix is a good example, something where if we had a whole bunch of these all put together and then we come across a wall of Phoenix and everybody could bring in their Nutacolombies, we might be able to take most of or all of them out without using any real squads otherwise, and we'd have that much more for offense. So there's just a little bit that's required, really, as far as leveling, gearing, abilities, and all that business for these 3 characters. So let me change to my iPhone, which has to be mirrored because I'm on a stupid Apple device, and I can't do an emulator like most people, that do this kind of thing are able to do, which probably works a lot better and they don't have to worry about their phone ringing or anything like that happening. But let's take a quick look. I set those 3 as my favorites, so I could quickly go in and show. Of course, my Acolyte is pretty beefed up, but I'm hoping that if everybody tried to do this and test in their Galactic War, you might find that you don't have to go anywhere near this far to actually get through it, because it's one of those just loop, sketchy things, little cheesy things that just end up working if you can find the right squad to use them against. So with Night Sister Acolyte, all you really need is, if you can, get to, when you're talking about abilities, you're going to have to upgrade, I believe, gear to a certain point and their level, the character level, to a certain point to be able to do them. So for these characters, whatever I describe, you're going to have to do whatever gearing and leveling is necessary to get to the point where you can do her basic, basically. And it's, same thing. It probably would work without the Omega, but it's going to be most effective with the Omega, because it just, let's see, deal physical damage to target enemy with a 70% chance to gain stealth for 2 turns. So that last upgrade just ups that chance. It makes it so she is just going to be stealthed almost all the time. So that's very worthwhile. And then her unique, Night Sister Acolyte, has plus 25% critical chance and recovers 20% health on each critical hit. So this ups the critical chance there, and I guess it actually just adds the extra 50% offense. So while she's stealthed, which is going to be all of the time, she has plus 50% offense, and that's why, possibly without even being anywhere near as geared up as mine is, or you could go, could still work, because the biggest thing would be, will you have enough time, basically, in the territory war battle to just bing, 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 and chip away at them. So let's move on to Newt, and he, if it wasn't for just wanting to get his leadership ability up to the point where, let's see here, stealthed allies gain 55% critical chance and gain 50% turn meter the first time they score a critical hit during their turn. So Acolyte, you're going to want to mod for crit damage and crit chance, and then obviously this is going to help because she gains 50% turn meter every time she scores a crit, which is going to be every time she shoots, generally. So that's just helps that engine of constant stealth and, whatever to move along. So with Newt, you really just need to, same thing, gear and level him to the point where, you can level up his leadership to the point where it starts to feel like it's actually, working as good as it could, or is, getting you some success. So he doesn't require any modding. You could actually bring him with 0 modding. He is there to basically provide the leadership and die if he has to. It doesn't matter. So Night Sister Zombie, again, you just need to gear and level enough that you can end up putting the Omega on her unique ability, which she's got all the business about how she can't be killed, and then if you Omega this unique, then she's, is an auto taunt from the beginning of the match. So that's really all you need to do to get that rolling, and then like I said, if you go into Galactic War, just play with anyone else until you get to a squad you want to test it on, and then bring them in, maybe even play that, even if it goes well and it seems like, oh, I could win this, don't. Just quit, finish that squad, move on, maybe look for a different squad and try it again. And that's how I try to use my Galactic War at this point. It's not as useful as it used to be, where you really could test things against meta level squads and whatnot, but something at least a little useful. You could imagine that some of these squads toward the end are kind of like what you might see, the weaker-ish squads that you'll see enemies having set up on defense in their territories. So anyway, if we could get a little army of these guys going, well, that would help a lot. So that's really mainly the prepared things that I wanted to talk about. Let me I'll show this, my amazing droid squad that I have set right now, because even among all these mostly Reys and Lukes, mostly Reys, people still say, hey, can you change your squad? Because I went in on Night Sisters, Towson, etc., and before Jedi Training Rey was around, and it was amazing then. Jedi Training Rey came out, and I found that it was amazing against them as well, so I have done some work on my Jedi Training Rey, but haven't even begun to do any of the Zetas that are needed, because I don't really need to. So let me jump in here and show one of these. And I'm basically using one of these three, depending on whether I'm fighting a CLS squad or a Jedi Training Rey squad or something else. Even other Night Sisters, it can make a difference. So Barriss, the one with Barriss is what I need to use against CLS, basically, so that they can't kill everybody real quick with their crits. But against Jedi Training Rey, it's a toss-up between using Kenobi or BB-8 in there, along with being able to put Asajj in there, which is awesome. I love being able to use her. So I love Night Sisters even more since Jedi Training Rey come out. So I don't see myself doing much with her. But anyway, so let's give this a try, see if it happens to actually work. And the other cool thing is that generally I auto. So it can totally come down to, who they attack first and how things begin, obviously. But man, when your payout hour is when you need to drive and run around and do things, it's really nice to be able to, assuming you can find the right squad to fight, to be able to hit auto and just let it go. And I'm finding that Jedi Training Rey, as the leader on this squad, I don't know, there's doesn't seem to be a whole lot of viability otherwise, but she is a monster. She's like better than CLS, harder to ever, especially, using the plague and having that be the mechanic that you're actually killing people with. Man, there's matches where she's the last one standing and she hasn't been touched because she's just constantly cleansing and healing and yada yada yada. But eventually, assuming nothing goes terribly wrong, it all works out, and I get the victory. So that was really just to reset my squad so I don't drop into the 50s or higher overnight. And I guess that's about it. I think that was all the things I wanted to test. I have a map, defensive territory war map, that I'm hoping that we can use this platform to, when we do voice chats, if we can get multiple people to do voice chats, it's just so much easier to talk things out and throw ideas back and forth and trying to type them into Discord and whatnot. So I tried to set this up so that we could get together and talk, and if anybody happened to have joined me, I have Discord set up going through this software too, so that all their voices would just be there as well. So we'll see what we can do in the future to try to get people together, and if people can chat in Discord and look at this YouTube, you know, you look at the live stream going on at the same time. We'd be able to manipulate stuff, and you know, for instance, here's territory war map. Ooh, can't show everybody our defense. So, and we'd be able to, you know, kind of move stuff around, and I've got this set up in a, I wish I had Photoshop still, but I don't, so I'm using GIMP. You know, and these are just text fields sitting here that we could move around and whatnot as we're talking, yada yada yada. So, anyway, that is about it. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys in the Galaxy of Heroes.